saying congratulations on the brand new album. I've had a chance to sit down and take a listen to it, and it's a great album, so congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We put a lot of work into it, so we're very happy that people are digging it so much. Getting a lot of positive reaction for it, so we're super stoked about that.
So you just mentioned that you're in Vancouver at the moment as well, on the road. How does it feel being able to get back out there and tour again after the events of the last few years?
Oh, it's great. I mean, to finally be out here and be able to do show after show, night after night, different places, it's great. It really is great. I mean, we were lucky enough, two things we were lucky about is that we did a lot of touring on the tail end of Atonement in 2019. And we were able to do all that touring. We were on the road for most of the year of 2019, and as soon as we got back, we were done with that tour, that whole touring cycle, that December, and then obviously shortly thereafter is when we had the pandemic. So we were lucky in the sense that we were able to do all the touring, prior to this whole thing, and we had planned 2020 to be the year of getting the album done. So we ended up with a little more time than we anticipated, but at least we were able to get the album done and put a little extra time into it, which was great. And once the pandemic kind of started lifting, the restrictions were starting to lift in mid-2021 is when we were able to get together and book the studio time. And then shortly after we got out of the studio, we were over in Las Vegas doing the Psycho Las Vegas Fest. So that was the first time we were able to get out after the pandemic and play like some kind of show. But that was great because we flew to Vegas. We saw these people we hadn't seen in so long. It was a really great festival. And, playing live for that time was weird because we hadn't played since, the end of 2019, so it was a really weird experience, but great at the same time. And we were just happy we had that opportunity so soon after the restrictions started getting lifted to play. And then we also did the Decibel Magazine Metal and Beer Fest in Philadelphia like a month after that. So it was cool. We feel very lucky that, we were able to at least do something in 2021, when things first started happening, which is great. And now this is awesome because now we're actually able to go out and just, do a full tour. And so far we're halfway through this one, and everything's been going smooth. Everything's been great. The clubs have been great. It's just like it's been. Not many restrictions as far as nothing that really interferes with the shows and the people coming out. So it's been really, really cool.
What was it like being off the road for so long, though? Is that the longest that you guys have been off the road since you've been together as a band?
Well, maybe in recent times. I mean, there were definitely periods like early on in our career, like between the first and second record, where we went through, we had like 5 years between records, and there wasn't a lot going on. In this case, it's probably the longest time in a while that we haven't been on the road. So, it was weird. Everybody had that same kind of experience in the sense that not only we weren't able to go on the road, but just like everybody else in the world, you're kind of secluded, you haven't seen people in a long time, so it was a very strange, weird experience for everybody, really. So that was just odd, but, once we started getting together as a band just to rehearse for the record, it felt good, because we hadn't seen each other for like over a year, so it was just bizarre to be with each other for so many times and so much over 2019, touring all over the world that year, and then we didn't see each other for like almost a little over a year. So it was a little crazy, but we're just very happy that things are getting back to the way, more normal situation now, which is just, it's really a great thing, as I'm sure a lot of people are hopefully experiencing now, just being able to do normal things again.
Definitely. And how did not being able to get together, how did that change how the writing process for this album?
Not too much, actually, in the sense that most of the records since 2010, we've approached the same way, which is I'll write everything on the computer. I'll do all the demo work on the computer and create the songs with, drums and everything on the computer. So I'll send that out to the guys and listen to the music, and that's how they get to know the songs. And then everyone practices separately, and normally we would just meet in the studio and just start recording. But for this record, we wanted to really get together before we went to the studio to go over the songs. So that was the difference this time. And we had planned it, pandemic or no pandemic, that was the way we had planned it. So the writing process was the same, because that's having all that time, just kind of like working computer like I normally would. And the guys were able to rehearse it on their own as I came up with the song. So, it worked out kind of like it normally would, and we just had to wait. We had to wait it out until we could all actually get together and, one, rehearse a little bit, which we did like 3 times before we went into the studio, and then also be able to go into the studio. The restriction needed to be lifted so we could actually go and record. So yeah, it was just kind of a waiting game in that sense. But otherwise, it didn't really affect things that much, other than giving us a little more time, which was good in the sense, especially for, like, say, Steve, who's playing the drums and had a lot more time to absorb the songs and really work, out more of his parts and spend time on that, which he's usually the one that's rushed the most and to me has the hardest job. So this time really lended itself to the sense of, having that extra time to kind of like get used to the songs, get to know the songs better before we went into the studio.
Yeah, and what kind of things were influencing you while you were writing this time around? Because you did have that extra amount of time to write. Was there anything influencing you when you were sitting down to write?
Well, musically, it's always just, whatever comes natural and trying to put together stuff as best you can, and that works, it sounds right together. Lyrically, we had ideas prior to the pandemic, but then obviously with the pandemic and stuff leading up to the pandemic, there was a lot going on prior to the pandemic that, lyrically influenced us as well, just as far as just seeing the way, the world was. There was a lot of divisiveness in the world, there were a lot of crazy things going on, and it was just a really bizarre time. The past 2 to 4 years has just been, a crazy time for the world, I think. And so, yeah, there was a lot of stuff to work off of, and then other things that were very, things that we've written about similarly in the past that we ended up touching on again on this record, because not much has changed in those departments either. So there was a lot we had, as far as, artillery, as far as, lyrically, things that we had and ideas that we had that we developed over the course of the time and writing the songs and getting to know them. But, Ross and I both just write down a bunch of stuff as we're writing the music, as the music's coming, and I'm sending the songs out to everyone and we're listening to it. Ross and I both just write and jot notes down over that course of that 2 years or so of doing that. And then once it's time to kind of get to work on that, we really don't start writing lyrics until like all the music part is done, because then we can hear all the music and figure out what works best with, what idea works best with which song, which musically and lyrically, which fit together. So once we get that going, once all the music's done, then Ross and I kind of get together and just brainstorm and start working on stuff. And, we got most of it done before we went into the studio, which is unusual because lyrically, lyrics are always done almost like just within a 2-week period we're in the studio. But this time we had a lot of stuff, we started working on it like maybe 3 weeks or so earlier before we were going in there, and it worked out really good because we just had maybe like 4 songs to get done, once we set foot in the studio. So it worked out pretty good, definitely all that little extra time and kind of attacking things a little earlier worked out well,
Yeah. How thankful are you that you are a lyric writer and that you can let the frustrations of what's happening in the world around you out on paper and out in a song? Because there's so many people out there that have been frustrated over the last few years and they've had no way of getting rid of that frustration. So how thankful are you that you're able to kind of let that all out with your lyrics?
It's great. I mean, it's always been that way for us in the sense that it's definitely a great outlet. It's dark music. It touches on a lot of dark subjects and the darker sides of mankind. But in the end, I think it's a positive relief for not only us, but when people hear the music or they come out to the shows, it becomes a positive thing. It's more of a united thing, because that's really, I mean, we look at what's going on in the world and we kind of just basically voice what we see, and then people take that in their own way, and for them it's a great thing. So when we're playing live, everyone just gets the energy out, and it's kind of a good way to release all that energy, and it's a positive thing without a doubt. So we feel very lucky to be able to, be creative and get that out of our systems. Absolutely. I mean, every night we're on stage, it's like a really cool thing, especially when the crowd's really getting into it. It's just a good way, it's a good avenue to just get that energy out, So yeah, we feel very lucky about that for sure.
Awesome. Now, this album also sees the return of you guys being able to work with Paul Orofino. Tell us a little bit about how that came about that you're able to work with Paul again, and what you feel, what he's like to work with.
It's always been great. He's like part of the family now. I mean, we've worked with Paul since like 1998, and it's just a comfortable situation. He's a great personality. He's a great person. It's very easy to work with him. He makes just the process is very easy and comfortable, and for us, that's the best thing. When you're trying to go and record stuff, and you're trying to do your best work and everything, there's a lot of pressure. You do have that feeling of pressure, and you could play the parts great at rehearsal, but once you're in studio and the red button gets pushed, it gets, it's a different type of situation. So yeah, he makes everything just the whole experience better and easier and fun. So, we've always loved working with him, and luckily this time it worked out as well because of the pandemic, he had to move his studio during that time. So we weren't sure if he was going to be ready by the time we were ready, and luckily it all worked out. So we were like super happy about that because we love recording with Paul, and it would be kind of strange not to. So yeah, it's always a great experience, always a fun experience, and to us it's like he's like another part of the band in that sense, where we just wouldn't want to really do it any other way. And then Zach Oren from Castle Ultimate, he's got Castle Ultimate Studios. He's been mixing and mastering our stuff since Majesty of Decay, so it's a great combination because Paul, we work and we get all the music recorded and done, and he does an amazing job of that. And then we send all the files to California over to Zach, and then Zach takes all that and he does his magic and just, does an amazing job mixing and then mastering everything. And we work with Zach more like, via email, so he'll send us, mixes that he does, and then we'll make suggestions, and he'll make suggestions, and he'll try different things. So, yeah, he really, the more we work with him, we feel the better things get. And, the guy works with a lot of different bands, so sometimes it takes a while to get to know the band and the sounds that they're looking for and everything. But Zach's always done an amazing job on every record, and I think this one he just knocked it out of the park. It's just such a cool sound. It's very dark and heavy, but the atmosphere's there. But there's also the clarity in these, in all the instruments, and especially what Steve does with all the nuances of Steve's playing on the drums. He just did a phenomenal job. So it's just great. The combination of Orofino and Zach Oren together for us has been working really well for all of these years, the past 12 years. So yeah, I mean, we're very fortunate to have these guys working with us, and we'll continue to do so because we just feel it's just a great combination.
Definitely, and talking about people that you're working with, Eli Cantor's artwork on the cover of this album is just absolutely fantastic. I'm looking at it now, and it's something that I would love to have hanging on my wall. Tell us a little bit about how you discovered Eli and his work, and what your first thoughts were when you saw his album cover for you guys.
Well, yeah, we were thinking of taking a different course with this record because the stuff was coming out that much darker and that much more wicked sounding. So we're just like, we need something that's just that much darker, that much more stark and just dismal, and hopeless, So we kind of like we're looking for artists, and Ross was looking through a lot of different artists, and Elon had gotten in touch with us years back about working with us. So when we did get in touch with him, he was excited because he's always wanted to work with us, I think. And we've gotten to know his work over the years, and we thought he was the guy because he's got it's not only that Renaissance type art that he does, but he also does that kind of we like that mixture of that kind of like old Renaissance type look with like the surrealism type thing, and he does a lot of different styles very well. Like it's stylistically kind of can dive into a lot of different things and make them work. So we just felt he was the guy, and once we got the ideas, we like usual, we would come up with a concept and we write up all the ideas, and we sent him the music from the pre-production and lyrics, kind of like what we were thinking everything was about, what it meant, and and he just took that and basically he sent us what you see on the cover today, or we would say like a black and white, maybe fuzzier version of it, but I mean, it was pretty much the same thing. And once we just saw it, we knew where it was heading, and we were just like, we were like, wow, okay, this is great, just go with this, go for it,
Yeah.
So yeah, he did an amazing job, and it's a very, very dark, it's exactly what we're looking for, something just really dark and just, like I said, like hopeless, and like our drummer Steve said when he saw it, he's like, it's just oppressively dark, and it's exactly what it is, and I think it suits the music perfectly. It's an amazing piece piece of artwork, and it just takes you into that realm that we created musically. It's just very cool. And then we had Santiago from Triple Says Designs and the inner pieces. Like, we wanted to do some more artwork on the inside, and we came up with some concepts and ideas, and he threw some other stuff at us, and he did an amazing job too. So it's really cool that both artists' work really kind of like worked well together, and the packaging overall came out really cool for this one. So I think the fans are going to dig it, and yeah, we couldn't be happier. And these guys really went out of their way, because we did not give either one of them a lot of time because of the way things went down. So we were kind of limited. They only had maybe like a month at best to kind of get all this stuff together, and so they both killed it and got it done and real quickly, and we were very happy about that.
Definitely. Well, Bob, we are running out of time very, very quickly. So to finish up, what would you like to say to all of your Australian fans out there before they go out and grab a copy and get a chance to listen to Acts of God?
Oh, just, I think they're going to dig it. I mean, I think it has a lot to offer both fans of ours as well as maybe new fans that might not be familiar with the band. It's an album filled with a lot of different types of moods and time changes, and it's fast, it's heavy, it's dark, it's atmospheric, it's aggressive, it's intense. So it's got a lot of everything. It's a very well-rounded record, I think, and we're very proud of it. I think the sound is good, the songs are good, and we've just been loving playing them live here on this tour, and it's been great. And I think we just look forward to getting back to Australia soon. We were lucky enough to be there before the pandemic, and we really hope to be back there again. Hopefully by maybe next year we'll get over there, and we just look forward to playing for all the Australian fans once again.
Definitely. Well, mate, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us today. It's been an absolute honour having you on the show, and